It started. Um,
Okay, it started fine.
Welcome to episode 2 of the Gulf.spec podcast. In the time since we last recorded, we've figured out the internet, and our podcast is now live wherever you get your podcasts, including, well, no, not including. Actually, we haven't figured out YouTube yet because it'd be
We'll
nice
do
to
that
put
now.
ads in
Yeah,
there. Yeah, because
yeah.
we worked in advertising, so we're going to put ads in there. That's our plan. Um, but yeah, so I am Mo, and this is
Anwar, nice to meet you. Hopefully, the 5 people that listen to this probably know us personally, but it's always nice to pretend like I'm a celebrity and I'm introducing myself. But it is nice to see you again, Mo. Um, I might be mildly hungover, so I'm gonna let Mo drive this one if that's okay.
yeah, I mean drive, no pun intended. I've
Yeah,
also this podcast the link to the like our Spotify and Apple podcasts and stuff to exactly 5 people. So if we get 5 listens, we know what happened. All right, let's kick off with something. You shared a link in the group chat a few days ago about a stolen one of one Lamborghini. Um, I don't know what type of Lamborghini it was.
Revelto. It was
Okay,
I think it's one of one just because of how it was spec'd.
okay. So
Mm.
yeah, it was purple,
Yep.
and somehow where was it stolen? Canada, Japan?
I think it was New York.
Oh,
We're
New
very
York.
prepared, but it doesn't matter. It's somewhere in North America. I believe it was New York. And yeah, it's a clearly identifiable spec. So if that thing turned up again, there aren't many people, especially with such a new car. It had to be that one.
And it's basically ended up for sale in the UAE is what's happened, and this is part of a large. Oh, go ahead. You're
No, no, no. Just that context as well. Just for some more context, if you don't know, and again, you're one of the 5 people who listen to this, you do know, but Sheikh Zayed Road, the main drag in Dubai, because I've got people maybe from a German side here that might not know what it is. It's the main road through Dubai, and on this road, it's become infamous. I'd say that might be the right word for the supercar dealerships along that main road, and there are some crazy metal there. The stuff
oh,
that
yeah.
you would see like in Monaco, parked in front of a hotel, there's 5 Koenigsegg's, a Pagani, more Chirons you can ever imagine, right?
The distributor for Koenigsegg for the region has their showroom there. Like Maserati and Ferrari have. Is it their world's largest dealership, if I remember
I
correctly?
think Bentley
Lamborghini,
as well. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Bentley, Ferrari, all these guys, they have their largest dealerships in the world here, and
But second to that, you've got like I think maybe more legit, let's say more legitimate ones like Alain Motors, which is very famous, and
Alain's the Koenigsegg distributor, if I'm correct.
yeah,
But yeah, they're legit. Yeah,
yeah. But then beyond those, there are quite a few less legit looking
yeah,
places that have very interesting business practices, let's say. And
yeah.
in one of these places, this car turned up. Sorry, just that's all I wanted to add. Yeah.
Yeah. Side note: when I first time I ever visited Dubai, I grew up in a country that did not have Alfa Romeos, and we know, and I grew up reading the British Motoring Press, which like loves like waxing lyrical about how about Alfa Romeos. So it was the first time I'd seen an Alfa Romeo dealership, and I had my dad ask the cab to pull over so we could go that Sheikh Zayed Road Alfa dealership. I
Yep. I've
walked in,
been many
looked at
times.
yeah, I looked at some 156 and 147s, and then was very happy and left back to my country.
So
But
stolen Lambos. Yep.
yeah, so it's that Lambo. So, but this isn't the first time, right? You found this thread on Reddit. I remember, and they reference it in the same thread. There was this other thread from several months back, which I remember bringing up, was about a stolen Denali or a GMC of some sort from
Hmm.
Canada, where when the person that bought it in the UAE, I can't remember, that might have come to Sharjah or wherever it was. I'm not going to get into who the dealerships are and stuff like that, but whatever it was a stolen vehicle from Canada that ended up in the UAE, and and what the owner found out was there was no way to get it back,
Mm.
and I think that has to do with the fact that there aren't the international agreements between some of these countries don't exist to enforce this kind of thing. So, I mean, if I recall correctly, and like to add some color to this, is that Well, I mean, let's get into it, right? Why is it that these cars end up here and people are willing to actually buy them? Do you? I mean, like I have some thoughts on this, but
We're going to try and avoid some Dubai slander, I guess. But it's not even the first time. I'm just reading that now. Iggy Azalea, who is a very colorful, let's say, pop star,
Mhm.
she also had her Rolls Royce traffic through Dubai. So it's happened to celebrities too. I, I, I think that's. I wanted to not just kind of regurgitate some news, but I wanted to think about a larger point.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I guess that's what you're also like asking for. I think it's just Dubai has kind of gained, rightly or wrongly, a bit of a reputation of a place where grey market deals can be done, and I think this is just symptomatic of that. And the reason I say that now is that it is one of the world's capitals for cryptocurrencies, and that is unarguably, again, a colorful space full of colorful people. And I think this is just another, side effect of it being that kind of business place, because they all seem to go there. And the second point is that they don't end up in Dubai. Quite often they go from Dubai to other places as well. And I think that's something you mentioned,
yeah,
Mo, right?
yeah. Like for example, when you I remember Jalopnik years ago was did that piece like asking how like Toyota Tundras were going from the U.S. to like warlords in Afghanistan at the time,
With
and
their business names on the side for the plumbing company, and it
yeah,
turned up with the talent.
well, I mean, that was pretty straightforward. It's like those cars were getting bought. Some of them were flood damaged cars from the U.S. or whatever. They were getting reconditioned or whatever, sold, um, or brought to the UAE. They get reconditioned in some of the workshops, and then they end up in all sorts of countries in Africa. And then that's fine, right? Like that's its own thing. There's no,
The
yeah,
UAE is a trading post. It's a
yeah.
middleman. Kind of always has been throughout its history. So this
Business
is
hub,
another.
right? And
Yeah.
so yeah,
Yeah.
these things come through here. What's interesting for me and about the Lamborghini and about the Denali specifically, I mean, I can't speak to the Lamborghini because it's a one of one spec, right? Like one of one in a way that a Mansouri is that like nobody else wants this spec probably. But sorry, dude, I know you've lost your car, whoever it was. I really apologize, but yeah. But the I think what it is like I mean I'll speak on the Denali, right? Or I don't even know if it's a Denali, the SUV, the General Motors SUV that was stolen in Canada.
Yep.
Is it was, if I remember correctly, the dealer that was selling it for a significant discount. And I think this goes back to something we said in the previous episode. We were talking about image conscious. My air purifier is going nuts.
It's okay.
Okay. We were talking about the image conscious nature of the UAE market, right? Now, if you can have like a Denali or an Escalade or a Lamborghini for a significant discount and it's not flood damaged, it's not crashed, there's nothing wrong with it, you're going to take that, right? And
Hmm.
the thing with those cars is because there's no agreement around having them sent back or like I guess is it an extradition agreement or does that only apply to people? I don't know. I'm not good with legalese, but I think the thing is, people are like, I can comfortably own this car in the UAE as long as it never leaves the UAE's borders and own it at a significant discount, and they're okay with that. And I think that's partially driven by this like keeping up with the Joneses kind of thing in the UAE, but also the fact that and once again we touched on this. This links back to the popularity of Chinese cars again. Is the fact that is some of the markups and some how expensive some of these cars are getting, especially the luxury cars in the UAE. Well, not just the luxury cars. I mean, I think we've seen it on the lower end as well. Some of these cars are just getting really, really expensive here. People are getting priced out. So I think people are looking at however they can. This is a good deal that they didn't look any further. Some of these people, most people that are buying these cars have probably never looked at the Carfax because we don't have a system like that here. Or do we?
No, I don't think there is a good enough one, and I think that might be just kind of on purpose so that they can continue. People continue to do that kind of dodgy business. Um,
I don't think it's. I mean, I would stay away from saying it's on purpose. I think it's just maybe it what didn't need to be regulated up until a certain point. I think this is like. I mean, we've heard about these stories in the past. Like when I was new in Dubai, I remember at university there was a kid whose mom had a Mercedes SL, and I think the wing mirror got knocked off or something like that, and they went
Hmm.
in to get a replacement from the dealership. And when they gave the parts code, the mirror came back in a different color, and that was like a red flag that, and they had no idea that this SL was, perhaps stolen and
Hot.
brought over or whatever. Yeah, and that was
Yeah.
back in 2007, right? So 2007, 2008 probably. So that's the thing. Like, I feel like I don't think it was at the scale, and it's not just about stolen cars. It's about like flood damaged cars, even locally flood damaged cars because of the weather change, climate change issues here now, and like some of the. I think there is going to be at some point some regulation or some tighter regulations around this. I think, but yeah, just
Just
interesting.
about yeah, but something else I wanted to mention just about stolen cars, and this is something I didn't want to mention before because I wanted to get your fresh thoughts. But Chris Harris is obviously somebody that in the car community everyone knows. Every single time I open up his Instagram page, it's either I'm driving the new M5 or some guy's car got stolen. It feels like it's a new content theme on his page. There is constantly a number of cars being stolen in the UK, and one of the places they do end up is chopped up and sent to Dubai. And I think most people who know me know I own a special car. Um, and I'm genuinely kind of worried now that that car might end up somehow stolen and then sent to Dubai because it's happened here in Dusseldorf. It happened in with a Lamborghini, stolen from a car park and disappeared. And that this is the place that they go to. They go to Dubai, and I'm genuinely actually thinking, how do I prevent that from happening? Because it's a '90s car, so you can imagine. Like, I don't even know if it's got a car alarm.
You need the, what do you call it? I look. That's a bad hand symbol, but the
This it's a GIF.
no, those things, the steering locks. What do they call
I
them?
have
Like
it for the Toyota. Yep, yeah. But the problem with that as well is that like it's very easy to. I'm probably going to put a Momo back on the steering wheel back on, so it's not that hard to take it off and put it on. It's a highly nickable car. Maybe I should be admitting this in public, but yeah, it's not going to
so
be that
Alex
difficult.
lives in East Africa and he drives a Mercedes 300D. So there's no reason for anybody to go steal it, or
Sure,
Anwar. Sorry,
that's fine.
but,
Um, Yeah,
identity crisis.
no, I'm wondering if it's an epidemic now, or if it's something we're just noticing. Because I keep taking screenshots of all these different cars getting stolen, and they are. Chris Harris got his own M5 stolen,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it
I
just
remember
turned
that.
up.
That's why he's
Yeah, yeah,
doing it. 'Cause if you listen to one of his recent podcasts, he wanted to create a platform where people in the UK could actually list their stolen cars. So like it was meant to be like a public service, and I'm just like, damn, if it's
yeah.
that bad, like.
My one of my relatives in London. Don't want to like call them out, but they had their car stolen from their driveway with the gate.
Mhm.
Um, it is it's so common that people like within my circle, it's not just like friends of friends on Instagram. It's becoming that common, and and like we said, now a lot of them are ending up in Dubai, and I guess they didn't mean to be Golf spec cars, but they seem to be Golf bound cars. Um,
Yeah, and some of it might be driven by demand here because of Gulf
that's
spec being so
yep.
expensive. Some of it
Hmm.
is, I think I'm sure they'll figure it out. But yeah, it's just interesting to see that happening and
Path
happening.
of least resistance. It's the path of least resistance, and it seems to be that the UAE is a place where the resistance is low enough for them to kind of get absorbed that way. And like you said, the market allows it to kind of happen, and it's something we've already known about. If you go into Sharjah, there are a lot of cut and shut cars. There are a
Yeah,
lot of them. Oh, and one final thing, something we didn't talk about now, but just remembered. JDM cars getting stolen in Japan was a big epidemic, and they were ending up in the UAE. Really cool, Japanese legends cars, real, JDM cars, getting stolen. And it was something when I was actually in Japan recently. There was something that I heard a lot people talking about specific Porsches and um, yeah, Supras and NSXs and stuff ending up in the UAE from Japan. So it's not just America; it's something that's happening from there too. And they end up in Sharjah, they get cut in half, and then parted out. Sorry,
no, that's it. I've got nothing to add to that. It's just
same.
yeah.
Let's continue to monitor the situation. And do you want to move on to our next topic, Mo?
We'll monitor the situation and we will go out. What's the place? Abu Shagara car market in Sharjah. We will report live from there, or not at all.
No, then you'll get disappeared. That's the
Sharjah,
last time we see
to be
Mo.
honest with you. Like,
Mm,
I hardly go into Dubai at this point. But okay, so moving on,
mm,
let's talk about something that has occupied our group. Well, not our group chat. This is our individual chat because our group
mm.
wouldn't even understand this argument. Um, Alex, I think you should start by asking me what I think is the stupidest car on sale today.
Mo, what's the stupidest car on sale today?
I'm glad you asked, Anwar slash Alex. This
Yeah.
is it is the Ineos Grenadier. That is a stupid, stupid car. And okay, I will kick this off just because I'm the one that started this, right?
What
But
is it? What's an Ineos Grenadier? Because I've never heard of this car company Ineos. So let's start there. Give us an intro about
well,
what this car actually is.
actually, a chemical company, I
Yep.
believe. It's an
Yep.
industrial company, I believe. Anyway, look, I think I don't want to get into the history of what Ineos is. I think if you're listening to this podcast, there's a good chance you know what a grenadier is. But
I think just what if I can then maybe 1 minute because I think it adds to the myth of the car. The
there's
what
no
the UK's
what we agreed on.
yeah. The UK's wealthiest man wanted to buy a Defender, an institution in the UK, and the
The
company that
tooling,
owned. Hmm?
the tooling for the Defender, so we could keep building
Yeah,
them.
well, no,
But
he wanted to buy a Defender, and he wanted to continue buying a Defender. Land Rover had different ideas. They wanted to shift over to being a completely different, much more modern car, not a ladder chassis. It was a monocoque. I hope I'm saying that right because now I'm in public. Um, and he then, as Mo just said, wanted to buy the tooling for that. Land Rover understood that's probably not a good idea because if you want to sell the new one, you don't want the old one not in your own hands. So they said no. So he did what basically every single car manufacturer, famous car manufacturer with an interesting history did, is he said, well, bollocks to you, I'm going to build my own car, a la Lamborghini. And then he built what is, let's say, an homage, as close as you can get without being copyright of what was the Defender. Bits and pieces. It's a somehow
well, copyright is
French,
interesting, right? Because they did
yeah,
sue
yeah, yeah. You can tell why. It's French, Austrian, British, if I'm not wrong. So
German.
it's kind of yeah, German. Yeah, is it German?
The transmission and the engines,
Ye-
BMW,
Yeah, but it's built in Austria, and there's French parts in it
and the
as well.
engine company.
Yeah, but it's a
That's why
British car with a flag on the side, or trying to be. Um, and yeah, if I could add one last thing before I hand back to you, Mo, I think everyone who wanted one bought one, and now they're struggling to try and expand that market. I'd say they have an 86 problem, where everyone who wanted one bought one, and then after the first 2 or 3 years, nobody is buying that car anymore because they don't have a market for it. And why is that, Mo? Tell us about the car.
Okay, so it feels like they're getting more popular here, and I will say, when I heard about the project, when I've seen the vehicles on the road, I see them quite often now, and um, it's I don't I, it's a car I want to like. It's a vehicle I want to like. I'll be real honest. I like it when somebody else, does something like this. Like, oh well, you won't build it, so I'll build it myself.
Hmm.
And but I think there's a few problems with the Grenadier. Like you said, it's not even like it's never been a strong seller. I don't think they've ever had the numbers that they wanted. I started seeing that reporting come out in the first year.
Hmm.
Um, Most of the reviews have objectively painted it as not a good car. People have liked it based on charm or the fact that it's a bit of a throwback, but it's not good.
Character.
Yeah, yeah. Like I remember Harry Metcalf, who has a farm and uses his SUVs for farming stuff. Um, uh, Reviewed it on his YouTube channel and was talking about the drawbacks of it as a commercial vehicle, like as a vehicle for this intended purpose, which is what you'd
Hmm.
think it would be for, right? Like, or like be competent at. And then I just read a review of the Quartermaster,
Hmm.
which is the pickup truck variant, and apparently it has like no payload whatsoever. It can't tow anything. It's literally a posing piece. It's a lifestyle vehicle. It's like a Chevy Avalanche. The
It's a
Avalanche is much
cosplay.
more
It's a
useful.
cosplay car.
Yeah, I mean that's what we used to call them. I remember they used to call them lifestyle vehicles, right? Like the Chevy Avalanche, the Ford Explorer Sport Track. Like all these pickup trucks that were like looked like pickup trucks but didn't actually do anything serious. But the Avalanche was on the GMT 900. Is that what it's called? That chassis platform that was still kind of useful, But anyway, I digress from that. And I think what really, really like got me laughing was they put out a new version, which is something like the AMG 4x4 squared, the G
Mm.
wagon. So it's got portal axles and things, but the conversion's done by an external company, and it's pretty expensive. It looks cool as hell, but it's expensive. And I think the quote from an Ineos representative that Autocar had put in their article was that this is the type of thing that our dealers are asking for. They
Hmm.
want to sell the vehicle for more.
Yeah, and and that's I
I
think
think,
where we had a disagreement because I completely agree with it, and then you
but then
didn't,
we
right?
agreed in the end, I think. But it's a 300 plus thousand dirham vehicle. It's
I'm.
not very. Hmm?
Is it really? That's cheap compared to
Yeah.
what Defenders are. They're like 400.
No, no. Defenders come in. I think you can get a Defender for like 300 something thousand, right?
You live there. I remember them when I was living there. They were going for a lot of money.
You had a, but when you left, that's when Land Rover was stuck in their supply chain issue, right? So you had
Yep.
like the wait lists and like people. I think I heard people like waiting for up to 5 years to, and
Yep.
uh,
And parts, you couldn't get parts because any door that was dinged was going on a car that was going down the line. They didn't have enough spare doors and spare parts to kind of fix people's
I
cars.
remember I remember a friend that worked at a friend of ours actually that worked at an exotic car dealership. He's big into like these specialty cars. If you want anything, he'll source it for you. Plug for him right there. Ask us who he is. We'll tell you. But we should get him on. But I remember a few people walking in while me and him were chilling at the dealership one day, and asking for defenders, and he would source a defender or two. And yeah, those were 400, 500,000 dirhams plus for used defenders just because he had them available or
Mm,
somebody willing to sell. But that was like peak supply chain. And that's also kind of what drove interest in the Jetour, I think, as well. A lot of people got pissed off or put their name on the wait list and then went and got a Jetour to drive around in the meantime.
mm,
But I think the point is that this is a 300 something thousand dirham vehicle. It really is a competitive, should be. And I remember Ineos, I think at its, when they tried shopping them to their industrial clients,
hmm.
and most of those people are like, no, we're good with Land Cruisers or Prados or whatever because they're better and they're cheaper and the parts are available. Like there's a lot of things that count for those cars.
That reminds me of something. Just I wanted to interject. Do you remember the downfall of BlackBerry? It feels very similar in that in this that the BlackBerry was an objectively better phone, but people who wanted a work phone asked for iPhones because it was a cooler thing, and the business case wasn't there. But now the BlackBerry is dead, and people have iPhones. I have a work iPhone now because people wanted an iPhone. So I
I'm being
wonder.
real honest with you. I'm not seeing the link, but
Oh, I'm no,
keep.
no. I'm saying like if you said that it's a commercial vehicle for people who would want like a work vehicle, if they would then say maybe don't get me a Land Cruiser, I would love to have this Ineos instead. Um, that might be a
Person that
play.
says, get me a Land Cruiser. I'll be real. I'm like, I live in the UAE. Find me one person that says, "Don't get me a Land Cruiser." It's just like,
Yeah, maybe that's the problem as well. Like,
oh no.
yeah.
Yeah, but
Is there any more Gulf spec car than a Land Cruiser? Maybe the Patrol.
no, I think if we look at the wider Gulf, I would say the Land Cruiser. I think the Patrol's more specific to the UAE market. Like, in Saudi, where I grew up, like it was, um, patrols were, I mean, they were there, but they're far less,
Yeah,
I don't command the
because
same
in
respect or this.
Japan they have a UAE flag up above the factory where they build patrols, the Y61s. They literally they
60 was the
love.
previous one, right?
Yeah,
Or the
yeah, yeah,
previous gen. Which one is it? What
I
are we
think
at?
it.
62 now, right? Well, fuck
Oh,
it.
yeah.
But
Anyway, get back to Ineos.
yeah, I think the thing is, it's not a good car. Nobody wants it. I don't know where they get off thinking like, okay, let's charge more for it or whatever. And I think it's reason for existence. Like we saw actually they have a really nice ad campaign now. Go check out Ineos's page. It mimics old Land Rover campaigns, just like the vehicle. But it says we still make them like they used to, right? And I remember that line. And the truth is, it's like I don't know. I've never understood the point. The Defender, the OG Defender, by the time they stopped making it, it was objectively a bad car. It wasn't
Yeah,
good for like military applications. It wasn't good for commercial applications. Everyone that really had one was buying one because they wanted to project a certain image.
Yes.
all of those people, every single person that was going to buy a Defender is better served by the new Defender, which is actually really good off road. It's a really good car in terms of image. It's actually pretty well built. Like I don't understand. It is modern and captures everything that was great about the Defender. It's just that people weren't ready to change because they left that car in production so long, right?
Mm.
And I feel like anyone that actually wanted a Grenadier or anything like it has better options. You can go get a Twisted Defender, way
Oh,
cooler.
oh, I
What?
think you froze there. Sorry. Yeah, Twisted
Oh,
Defender.
you can get a Twisted Defender, which way cooler in my opinion. You can mod it yourself because there's such a huge aftermarket. Like, I mean, please, by all means, chuck in an LSV8 and some fat tires, right?
Still not a
Or
good car though. That's the problem. You've just made a bad car faster. So yeah,
oh
there's a
yeah,
lot more structural
there's a big
problems
problem.
with
You can
the
get half
platform.
decent, right? Like that's the thing. And well, the Grenadier is not a good car either. That's what we're finding out. It's a bit of a throwback. It's a little bit better than an old Defender, maybe. And then you've got Land Rover themselves. If you've got enough cash, will make you a new old Defender. I think it's over $100,000, but
Mm.
if you've got it,
And
go for
now
it.
they get it. Yeah, I think, and that wasn't because of Ineos. That was just because of the Twisted. What's it called? Uh, Retro modding thing. And they also bought Land Rover bought what's the racing one called again?
Oh,
The
Bowler.
Bowler. Yeah, they bought Bowler, right? And now they're going to Dakar, I think, with Bowler and that infrastructure, which is just awesome. I think that's great myth building to do Dakar in that car. The Octa. It actually reminds me of another history lesson, I guess. Do you remember when the 928 was meant to replace the 911 and it was an objectively better car and people revolted and they didn't want the objectively better car? This
But people
feels.
didn't revolt here. That is what I'm going to highlight.
Mm,
I
yeah,
think
yeah, yeah.
most people actually went and got a new. The new Defender's amazing. I think it is a case study in disruption in a way, right? Like they managed to open that vehicle up to a whole new audience while actually maintaining some of the original audience as well. I mean, yeah, they lost some really, really, really old hardcore diehards that drank at a pub called Grenadier, but
But they are
the
dying. That's a funny way of putting it because the problem with this as well is that, like, just like the British Empire, it turns out there is a sunset,
I
and
just don't
those people, yeah.
I just think it's too expensive. It's not good enough in any particular way, and I'm not sure what purpose it serves. So I think it's the stupidest car on
But
sale.
that's the right move then, because it's a Veblen good. Veblen, I can't remember what it's called. The principle is that, like, sometimes when you increase the price, normally you expect lower demand. But with some specific goods, when you increase the price, you actually increase the demand simply because it is more expensive. One good business case study for that is obviously Grey Goose Vodka, who their business case when they launched the 80s was they found out how much a bottle of vodka cost on average, and they said we're going to be 30% more expensive, and a nice shaped bottle and all these different things. But their point was that they would want to increase the demand for this product by increasing the price
A
because I
nice
think
shaped bottle. The
yeah,
Grey
it's
Goose
an
is the most normal looking bottle I've ever seen.
now yeah, but
Like,
disruptive. Yeah,
uh, but yeah,
but it was disruptive. I think moving it into a space where it's no longer just the car that you have for your family, but it is a car that can do family stuff, but is
can it?
slightly more interesting, different portal axles. I think it's
The
the right
Porter
move.
Axle is a limited production.
I think it's
It's
testing the waters. I think it's testing the waters, and I think the other thing they've also launched now
got
is a program.
ideas.
Hmm? Yeah,
I think they're
sure, but
ideas.
but they've also the personalization program. They're trying to basically move this car into a higher price point segment, and I think it's going to work for them. I think
I don't
getting
think
out
so.
of it just let's see. I think we can report back if we do more of these podcasts, maybe to see how it goes. But I
So,
think with a more personalization, which is something clearly the market's asked for, every single brand has now moved into having its own SVO and doing these kind of limited edition one-offs like Lamborghini did with the Aventador. They did like 8 different versions of that silly car in all the different things. I think that might be an interesting way to fix it because just like Jaguar, like doing what you are doing isn't working. You have to change and
yeah.
maybe the smartest move is to do the opposite of what you think to sell more, make it more expensive. So maybe we report back when we found findings, but
I
I'm
think
gonna
it's a down
say
market. Like, yeah, I mean,
Let's
I
see. Let's
agree
see.
with you that that is a tactic. It has worked. I don't see it working for them, particularly
Mm,
not at least now. And I think there's a critical component missing, which we'll talk about in a second, right?
mm.
But I think the play was to move down market, right? Like you're seeing the way like other Land
You
Rover players.
can't go back up. Once you go down market, once you do an Alfa Romeo, and then you move from a certain price point to a lower price point, it's
Alfa
very
Romeo is
hard to
a
move
very
back
different
up.
case because Alfa Romeo is a storied motorsport Formula One brand that birthed Ferrari. You know, there's so much. Ineos has nothing. They're a chemical company, Alex Anwar.
Yeah.
So I don't get that. That's like Lexus popping up and charging Rolls Royce money for the first LS. Remember, they significantly undercut the S class when the LS 400 came out in 1989. I think
But the
I think
LFA also didn't
they
sell well, right?
the LFA was a demonstration. It wasn't a
I have
you
the
know
book. It's
argument
if
to
you
sell
haven't bought the book, please, please, please buy the LFA book. It is incredible,
Send me a link.
incredible.
Not now, but send me a link, please. I will
Mm,
absolutely. I love
mm.
that car. It's one of my favorites, but it's so nerdy. Um,
But
but I
but
think,
that's part of the myth, right? And I think that's what you wanted to move into.
but
The reason
okay,
it's not.
hold on. I think Grenadier. I think okay. Yes, we can talk about the myth building in a second. But I think the issue with the Grenadier, I think the smart money with the Grenadier would have been to move it down market, and not significantly so. Like I think it could have like what's a base Prado cost right now? About 200,000 dirhams. Okay,
Really, that's not bad. That's not bad.
it
That's
did.
not
I
bad.
mean, I think the V6 used to cost 150. Now we're talking
Yeah.
about the hybrid four cylinder or whatever costing 200.
Uh-huh.
Car prices are an interesting place as we talked about last week or last episode. I don't know if I want to call it last week because we don't know when this is going to come out. But I think the thing with the Grenadier is I think it could have comfortably competed with the Prado or and been slightly upmarket to a lot of the Chinese clones. You know,
Mm.
where like well, I mean, actually, the Rocks O1 is well, that's locally assembled. That's an interesting story. I want to research that and talk about it. But the Rocks O1, which is designed by Pininfarina, looks like a Defender, and it costs like 250,000 dirhams or something, and it seems to be selling. But yeah, the Jetour costs 140, 150, and then you've got its actual like competitors. Like I think the Patrol, a brand new Patrol base model costs 240. I don't see the Ineos moving. Yeah, yeah, I don't see even a base like Land Cruiser starts at what I think 250, 260. Like I
But
can check.
all of those different things have myths, and it's the myth that really shifts the metal. And I think the interesting thing with the Grenadier maybe is that the myth it has to have is something that people just maybe won't find appealing, especially in the Gulf. I think the hangover of it is the most British Empire car I can think of, short of like a Rolls Royce or a Bentley, if you know what I mean. Um, Even if it doesn't have that myth, do you want to be driving around in a car that feels like that? Is that what you want to portray or role play as? There aren't that many British expats. Like that era of the Gulf is kind of over. If you remember the British dad who moved to the Middle East to make money in defense or in chemical engineering or civil engineering, and he saw himself as a frontiersman. That was what that car was made for,
Oh
and I
no, guy.
think that no, no, we're not going to no. But I think that's died, and I think they haven't created a new myth that's appealing to people in 2025.
Well,
Do you know what I
I
mean?
think this is the thing, right? Like we talked about, okay, the Prado has a heritage, it has a legacy. It is a Land Cruiser at the end of the day. It costs about 200,000 dirhams base. The Patrol, and even let's put aside the UAE market for a second, right? This is Ineos's problems are much bigger than the UAE. It might actually be selling decently in the UAE from anecdotally from what I can see on the road.
And I see here in Germany, by the way, I see quite a few. I do actually see quite a few. I think
Wondering if in Germany they might have actually reached out to the commercial buyer, but that's interesting. But I would not have guessed that. The Patrol starts at 239,900 according to their website, right? These are all website prices. The Grenadier starts at 299,000, so I was a little off. I don't think it's 350, but it's 299 for the base model. Out the door, it's probably at least 305, 310, right? But I think what I'm getting at here is this thing is probably 50 to 100,000 dirhams too expensive in my mind. I think it needs to play at a different audience where I think it could have. I don't know if that would have cut into the profit margin significantly, considering they are renting the factory space. They're buying a lot of these components as well. So I don't know what their margins look like. They're not actually building a lot of this in house, nor do they have the capabilities, and that would be expensive,
Mm.
expensiver, I suppose. But I think that's the issue. Now, what you're talking about with the myth building, I think on a global level, what would be really cool is to see some of the stuff, if they really are building them like Land Rover used to, which is the tagline, one of the taglines that they're running with, bring back the Camel Trophy, right? Like,
Mm.
do stuff like that. Where are the Grenadiers with UN things on the side, the big black UN, the stuff that gives these things stories, right? Like,
Hmm.
I know there's a quote out there of a UN guy talking about how bad Land Rovers were and how much better Prados are, but still, the fact is there were discoveries out there, first gen, second gen discoveries with massive UN symbols on the side, and you still see them around.
And they're
Um,
cool. And that's a
yeah,
cool.
militaries used those things. They used the Defenders. They used Generation One Range Rovers. They used Land Cruisers, Prados, patrols. There's that. I love that YouTube video of the what is it, the Toyota dealership in Gibraltar that does all the world's special services Land Cruisers, the Land Cruiser 70 or whatever
Yep.
it is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, there's stuff like that. That whole piece of the pie. I think like if they started doing that, maybe I could start seeing the case for starting to charge. And we're advertisers, we're marketers. Like this is the story, the myth building is a big deal to us. But I think that's how you sell this car at 300,000 dirhams. Or if you want to charge even more, that's how you do it. You got to do that. Do a polar expedition. Porsche did this with the Transiberia, right? The Transiberia.
Trans-Siberia.
Yeah,
Trans-Siberia.
is that
Trans-Siberia.
Trans
Yeah.
Siberia? Sorry, Transiberia. It's
Trans-Siberia.
a
It sounds like
country.
a berry.
Kind of a Marvel movie. Yeah, we're going to Transiberia.
Yeah. Isn't that where the new Superman movie is based out of? That's where it is.
From Metropolis to Transiberia, but Trans Siberia Cayennes. Like I think they understood this.
Yeah.
They understood that they needed to create the credibility for a type of vehicle that's never existed before.
You have to be allowed to sell it. You have to give it was
Yeah.
like a permission structure or whatever. Maybe permission structure is the wrong way of looking at it, but you have to build a reason for people to want to have one.
And I think that the copycat print ads or social media posts that Ineos does, harking back to Land Rover's like old ad campaigns, the famous ones, is it's clever, but it's not enough, right? It's not selling that story. What I'm seeing is posts of like Wayne Rooney and Rio Ferdinand driving across the U.S. in the Grenadier, and I'm like, I don't know if this is it, man.
Is it? I
Like,
haven't seen that. Hold on, I'm
yeah,
gonna have a look.
I think I've talked so much smack about the Grenadier that I'm now being served ads about the Grenadier. It's
Oh, and I
uh,
want to make an adjustment. What I said earlier. I think actually the most British Empire car in the world is the Range Rover. It's the one the Queen drove. It's the one she was driven around in. There is nothing more British than a Range Rover, and it
that's
kind
not
of
right.
shows.
Brits have reclaimed it. It's
Hmm?
theirs now. Sorry, the colonized have reclaimed the Range Rover, or not reclaimed it. They have claimed the Range Rover now.
Well,
Well,
they own it.
yeah,
It's,
and
they own
JLR,
it.
what they just put in that Indian CEO as well for the first time, right?
Oh yeah,
So
what the hell is this? We thought Wayne Rooney and Rio Ferdinand driving around.
I wasn't making this
Oh,
up.
and by the way, something else as well earlier. Do you remember who's driven it? Ineos is a big sponsor of Mercedes, so we've got Lewis Hamilton and you
No,
had
no,
George.
George Russell and who's the
No, no,
kid?
no. Even
Ellie.
before that, this was a few years ago. I've seen videos of old Lewis, Mr. Lewis Hamilton or Sir Lewis
That's
Hamilton. Sorry.
interesting. Yeah, I've seen those posts. I've seen posts with Russell and Antonelli. I didn't know
Mm,
before that. I don't think I paid enough attention to the Grenadier before. But I think that whole thing is really interesting to me because do you remember the whole deal with the McLaren F1 and the Mercedes SLR and what happened? Where Gordon Murray was basically going to go pitch a whole plan, which
yes.
BMW had, yeah, and him had talked about creating a whole lineup of BMW supercars for
Mm.
that they were going to engineer as McLaren or whatever. And then that got nixed because Ron Dennis did a deal with Mercedes as a Formula One car. So I think it's interesting that Ineos, being this like massive sponsor of Mercedes, and Mercedes's Formula One drivers are doing content with Ineos, which comes with BMW components. So
Well, and
I
team as well, by the way, which I think is a very good move. All the fancy people I know are into cycling, so I think that's
You
also.
yourself. What's the bike you bought?
Oh, it's just a cube. No, 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 no. Like I know what I don't have. If you know,
What's a carbon bike?
no, it's not definitely not carbon. It's just it has I realized this was like a chump move, but it's got the wrong kind of brakes. It's got like rim brakes. It doesn't have disc brakes or whatever.
I mean, I get it.
Um,
I just bought my first like carbon plate running shoes, and I'm just like, oh, this is like carbon fiber. But
Midsole, yeah. Okay. I think we've spent a lot of time on this. I don't want to make people bored. Mo, there is something else you wanted to talk about, and we've been here for 40 minutes.
yeah, mostly talking about how terrible the Grenadier is, especially the Quartermaster. Okay, what is the car that you are most looking forward to that's coming up? Because I think a lot of people there's I've got something very clear in mind. I know, and that's why I thought of this question because I keep seeing this car pop up, and I'm like, oh man, when that comes out, I might want to buy one. But yeah, you go first.
I think because we're in this extinction level event with the transition to electric, um, I think car manufacturers have been treading water, and I think it shows in the lineups and what they're trying to shift at the moment. I could not think of a single upcoming car that had me really excited. Nothing came to mind. And the exercise I tried to do was go through each manufacturer and say, okay, between like in this brand, is there something that I'm very excited about? And there is no BMW that I'm excited about. I see these M5s everywhere, and it is enormous. That 5 Series is
I
enormous.
do not care for the touring
Yeah.
or whatever.
So
Just
no
like
BMW, and there's nothing there. Mercedes Benz. The last car that got me excited from them was obviously the NG1. I think that's a really cool car. I think it's cool because it's massively flawed. But there's no new.
you don't like the
I,
new E Class with the Mercedes symbol taillights?
God.
So the
Look,
taillights
they're doing. Yeah, no, actually, they're not doing well. So there's not that. Audi, they've just discontinued the RS6, which is probably the cool car. They're going to return with an R8 and a TT, but they're both meant to be fully electric, which I think the
they've already
experiments are
said-
kind of. Hmm?
I think they've already announced a next generation RS6. Like I think it'll be a V8 hybrid or something, but it's coming
Well,
back.
yeah, well, I mean, they
I
can't.
could
I
be
think
wrong.
again, no, no,
Holding
no,
up my
absolutely right. But that goes to my point of like treading water and saying maybe we don't. We're jumping too far ahead. Um, Toyota, I heard there might be a new Supra. The MR2 might be the car I'd
the
probably say.
supercar, or that's Lexus. Lexus has a new supercar
Yeah,
coming.
that's cool. I think that might be my answer. Yeah, we'll get to that's a good one. Yeah, because it's going to be, isn't the LFR is what they're going to call it. So maybe it's that car. Um, Nissan, that GTR they've been threatening. They're in no position to do anything at the moment. Mazda's been threatening a coupe. All of these different brands are trying to like get us whatever. So I
LFR,
think
yeah.
maybe
Sorry.
the car. No, it's okay. The car I'm excited about is the last car that got me excited was the F80. I think that's a really cool car. I think it sounds like nothing, and I
Ooh,
think whenever I see it, like when I see it presented by a journalist or by Ferrari, it sounds like something. But whenever it happens to be filmed, it sounds like absolutely nothing. But
I
and last admission, I think I'm gonna die now. No, that sounds really weird.
I-
Without ever having buying without ever buying a new car. I don't think I'm ever going to buy a new car ever again. It's
okay.
not going to happen.
I
So
think this is where our tastes converge, right? And I'm
yeah,
clearly interested and excited about electrified cars and stuff. I think this is cool. I don't mind the shift away, and I think absolutely for my daily driver, like I think that's on the horizon. I will absolutely. I mean, I want to make my Mazda 6 the million mile Mazda, but when the time
you can get an
comes,
electric one and do that.
oh, absolutely not. And if we have time to talk about it, the demise of Mazda is something that we need to we just maybe we save it for the next episode. But that is something that
So
I think
what
is
this? So what car are you looking forward to, Mo?
the Honda Prelude. The
Oh, I've read about it. Have you,
yeah,
did you read about the engine? I'm
I've
okay. Allow me to burst your bubble
here, go for it.
for two
I
things.
will explain why, but you tell me about the engine first.
So it was an auto car this week. I just read a review of people
They sat
driving it.
shotgun. It
Hmm?
wasn't this week. They sat shotgun. They didn't get to drive it, right? Is that the one same review we're talking about,
The
or did they
blue
drive?
one. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. that shotgun. They didn't actually drive it, but
Okay. But do you know how the engine works? And I'll give you, and I have a little bit of experience with it now. So the engine is
tell
not
me,
actually,
because I actually don't know the technicalities. I was just excited about other stuff.
it's a hybrid, but it's a hybrid where the engine does not power the wheels at all. So it is a turbo four cylinder, like most of these cars are, but it is a hybrid that is fully electric, and the engine is there to simply recharge the battery. And I've driven a car in Gran Turismo recently because I've got like a little sim rig, and it is a Nissan Riviera. Man, I don't know. I really should know cars more than I do, but it is the same thing, and it is the most annoying sounding thing in the world. It is a background hum of, and it's monotone. It is a disaster, and I remember driving this thing, and I thought, I will not get much money in game for this, but I really just want to sell it because it is that horrendous. This idea of a hybrid that works like that is not a good thing, and that's what the basis of the Prelude is supposedly. So sorry.
Getting back to it, here's why I'm excited about. So I think, okay, in this, I think we were talking about the general like vibes of the world right now, and I think a lot of people, for better or for worse, want to go back to the way things were, and I think that's a huge sentiment, and I think there are definitely companies that are capitalizing on that and doing well with that too. I mean, Ineos, for example, but also companies that are doing well with it. Renault with the Five is killing it, from what I
Yeah.
understand, and that is super cool. But I think that predates me a little bit. Like, I don't think I was really alive for the. I think was. I was been too young, and I don't think Renaults were big enough of a deal in Saudi. But the Prelude was, and I mean, I don't. I wouldn't say it's a big deal, but the Prelude was
Local hero.
one of the few sports coupes that you would see around Saudi. Saudi, I don't think at the time two doors were very common. Usually, what you'd see was a Mustang or a Camaro. Hardly ever anything else. Maybe a
Mm.
Corvette here and there. And then when you went to the bigger cities, I grew up in a small town. When you went to the bigger cities, you'd see like things like an 8 Series or an SL, or then your Ferraris and things like that. If you were really lucky, but generally, I don't think two doors were really a thing when I was growing up. I don't remember them other than the Mustang or Camaro. And the Prelude was one of the few that broke through. I remember it was a third and fourth generation Preludes. I saw them around. I saw them around. And the third and fourth were definitely. I think I may have nearly even bought a fourth as my first car in high school because it was going really cheap. But I ended up with the Del Sol instead. But so all good. But I think that the Prelude appeals to that side of me. It's practical enough of a car that I could use it like as a daily driver. It's got that whole like lower emissions, better fuel efficiency thing going on. I want to say I trust Honda to deliver a fun car to drive. I know they cocked it up with the CRZ, but the last time they tried to do a hybrid sports car reinvention of old car that they had. But I'm hoping they get it right with the Prelude because it's a good looking thing. I think in a very like low key kind of way. It's not, and which was always the case for the Prelude. It never looked like the third gen. I think was as cool as like they ever got, but it was always like low key good looking. That's what it was, and I'm excited about that car. I genuinely am excited about that car, and it seems like, and it's a car that I'm sure I could afford if
Mm.
they choose to sell it in the UAE. So I like, yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to.
I'm looking at it now, and it definitely does feel like a car of its era. It feels like it has that Ferrari Toyota face. Um, I wonder again, like having experience driving a simulator, I guess, with that engine. I'll be very intrigued to see how you feel about it, experiencing that drivetrain and this kind of version of a hybrid. I'm very excited to hear back.
It's interesting. I
Mm,
have been in electric cars before.
mm,
I don't think I've ever been in a hybrid. I don't think I've ever sat. No, no, other than I have.
of
That's a lie.
course,
The
every
Uber,
single
the
taxi, yeah,
Lexus.
every single taxi you've been in,
No, oh yeah, you're right. The Toyota Camry hybrids as well. Yeah, okay, I
all of
forgot.
them. Yeah, yeah,
Well, I
yeah.
can't tell the difference. Anyway, but you're saying it's a different type of hybrid, so.
Yes, so that hybrid that you're normally used to is where the engine actually has a connection, a physical connection to the wheels, and the engine itself can drive the wheels. This is not that. This is a onboard generator, basically.
You remember when there was that there was a video way back when the Model S was new,
Mm.
Tesla, and somebody had run out of juice and they would carried a generator, a fuel generator in the trunk.
Diesel.
And yeah, and they were using it to like, and people were making fun of this dude, and here we are. It's just
Well,
like,
I mean, look again. Actually, the one of the biggest segments in China, in the Chinese car market, is these kind of extended ranges hybrids. It's very popular. It's a good, clever solution. It's what BMW did with the i3. I think if we want to talk about the most advanced cars, and a car probably I'd actually own if I had to own a city car, I'd 100% own a BMW i3. That was how it worked. It had a range extending, what's it called, generator in the boot. Um, so I don't think it's a bad solution. I just don't think it makes a good sports car.
we'll see. I think it should be interesting. I mean, I like, yeah. Anyway, I won't get into that. That's a completely different
But
topic.
okay, and let me drop a bomb, something that we can kind of hold people onto for next week. And I haven't even talked to you about this. The sports car is dead, and I think economics killed it. Um, I'm very happy to pick this up about later, but I would say the reason that we don't see as many sports cars and two door cars isn't just the SUV thing. It's that people cannot afford to have that kind of indulgence anymore.
I want
And
to bring up the car industry analysis like graphs. It's not just that, right? It's like when you say economics killed it, right? Like I feel there was a lot. So I was just thinking about this on the way here because I was driving from somewhere, and I was thinking about how in the early '90s in Saudi, my dad was buying a Mazda at the time. We were at the dealership, and the dealer, I was a little kid back then that was super into cars. He handed me a brochure for the RX-7. This would have been the
mm,
FB or
D
FC RX-7.
FC, no, it'd be an FD, dude. I think the
FB.
FD.
No, the one before the
FD.
FD. It wasn't the FD. The FD is one of my absolute favorite cars, a dream
Okay.
car. No, the one before it, the
Okay.
boxy one.
Yep. FC. Yeah.
Not the first gen, second gen. Let's just call it
Yeah.
that. I forgot
FC.
that title. Sorry,
Yep.
RX-7 fans, as much as I love it. But yeah, he gave me a brochure for that, and I held on to that for years. I don't know why, but it was super cool. And I think what was interesting at the time was there was clearly no market. I never saw, like maybe once or twice, saw an RX-7 on the road in Saudi,
Mm.
that generation in particular. And it was like, I don't think anyone did any market economics or like brand studies or any like focus groups or anything to see if this car would sell. They just brought a bunch over, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think with all this like data and optimization and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that, people are just realizing that, or have realized, sorry, they're not realizing, they have realized that the market for these cars is not huge. And so they're like, why should we invest in developing them? The only people that are making the cases for these are people like Porsche with like the RS cars and stuff like that, right? Where they're selling them like the margins I've heard on the GT3s and stuff like that are nuts. But
I want to make a big point. I have worked now with a few different brands who always have the same, and there's a new pitch that's just come in that I'm working on. They always have the same thing, and they've been talking about it for ages. We want to become a luxury brand, and it's almost like an epidemic in the car industry. All these different car companies wanting to become luxury brands, and they position themselves, or they look at the different like luxury brands like Louis Vuitton and Gucci, and they want to become like that. And I think the problem with that thinking is that people in those companies, those luxury brand companies, they live luxury, and every single touch point is luxury. Why? Because every single person who works in that company, from the person that works the on the showroom floor, all the way up to the CEO, the CFO, every single person that's not even involved in fashion loves fashion, who's in
yeah,
these
oh man,
industries.
I'm
And
yeah.
hold on. And the problem with trying to make car companies a luxury brands is that's not how those people work. However, I can guarantee that most people in those car companies are sports car fans. And throughout all their history, they have been able to scam their way kind of into making more sports cars because that's what they always wanted to do. So even if logic never dictated, and this is the reason all these cars are loss leaders, and you mentioned the LFA as one of them, it's because somebody had heart and the entire organization knew that it wasn't economically sound, but they had to create a sports car. And the LFA is a perfect example of it. You had Mr. Toyota himself learning to drive a sports car with a man who within Porsche had basically is a racing driver, had a huge history, told him off actually, like dressed him down and said, "You don't know how to drive cars. If you're going to sell cars, you'll have to learn how to drive cars, and I'll teach you how to race." And that man, with Mr. Toyota, created the LFA program, and it didn't matter if it didn't make economic sense. That's the problem. They're trying to become luxury brands, but they aren't in their soul luxury brands. But what they are is every single one of these car companies, and even the boring ones like Toyota, are full of people who want to make sports cars. So that's what the truth is. They are sports car makers, and that's the luxury. Sorry, rant over.
Man, we're gonna need to pick that up next episode for sure, because I think like I agree and disagree. Because like for
Mm-hmm.
example, like case in point, me, I love cars. I think we've established I might not be a sports car person. Um,
I
um,
disagree. I completely disagree with you. I don't think you know yourself in that case because I think you. Yeah, I don't mind saying that. It's funny. Let me explain why. I think you are a massive appreciator and you know a lot about them. It might not fit your lifestyle and what you want from a car, but I know you, Mo, and I know how much you know about all these different cars throughout history and now. And you just mentioned a sports car, so maybe it's not something that you personally would get, but I know you would be a person in those car companies who would be very excited for the sports car
introduced, like
program.
100%. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Um, and I think when we discuss that topic, I think Bentley is an interesting case to bring up because I think they're doing it right. But the I think we'll end with that. I think there's something. Alex, would you like to plug some of your new work?
Oh, I'm not very good at that.
I mean,
Um,
put it on Instagram and it looks super cool. So maybe
yeah.
I'd like to give you a couple minutes to talk about that because it is
Oh,
very related to what we.
actually, I maybe make a bigger point of that. I think that I learned a lesson working with different car brands, and it's something that's made me think about posting or not posting. Um, I think I've developed a decent relationship with quite a few different people because I haven't shouted about the work I've done, and I think it's a decision I'm making and something I've been discussing with Mo. Self promotion on LinkedIn is something that we all need to do. However, I think I have gained, hopefully, touch wood, a good reputation with a few of the brands I've worked on because I haven't um, like used them to pretend like I've done more on these different projects. And I think that's allowed me to do more. Phil McGovern is a person we both work for, who I'm shouting out him specifically because he taught me something and something I've thought about for a long time. It sometimes it's good to be the guy behind the curtain pulling the strings, and you don't need to be the person shouting about it. I don't know if that's still true now. I think self promotion is becoming much more important and myth building around people, but I still kind of believe that. And I've personally been involved in some really cool projects, like Mo mentioned now, but I am actually practically choosing not to promote them for that reason. It might be advice that you can get a lot more done if you don't shout about what you do, and if you allow the people who know what you've done to speak for you. That's kind of why I haven't posted about them in like a professional setting. But
Fair
no, but
enough.
it's no, absolutely right, and it's something I don't know if I'm right or wrong about. But this is currently where I am, and
Okay,
it's yeah. But I don't mind doing
I
that.
got
But
deep.
that's
I
kind of the
appreciate
reason.
it.
Hmm?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know that's, I said that guy, I was just clowning around, but that was deep. That was personal. I appreciate it. Like, I'm really glad you shared that with our audience of five. Um, what I will say is that, I was just browsing around the internet in the last few days and I got on the Porsche Motorsport page and they have some really, really cool videos there, like
Yeah.
Raceborn. I think that's what it was.
Okay.
Have
That's
you
the
seen
thing.
those?
Yeah.
Like, did you have anything to do with those at all? Maybe a little bit, but
There's two model cars back there, and they are the current Porsche Le Mans legends. And their performance hasn't been necessarily what Porsche was hoping for, but they've still won races and done well. And having a fingerprint on those kinds of cars, that
yeah,
yeah, that's cool. And yeah, I worked on the Race One campaign. Um, it takes a village to do that kind of thing, and there's a lot of people
100%. Yeah,
involved in it. But I've been very proud of the part I've been able to play in telling that kind of story for such a company. Like, this is Porsche, and the other reason I also try not to
not as cool as
celebrate
Mother
it too much.
but yeah,
Yeah, but it's also because to do things, if it just belongs to you, you don't then allow other people to make it theirs and run with it. And I think that's how success happens. I think when you allow people to also share in this thing and you give it to them, it's if you try and control it too much, no one will want to use it. But the thing that we're trying to do with Raceborn, as you said, is that it should be a platform for other people to also make great work for. And if I try and claim it and own it, it wouldn't be factually true, and I think it would also prevent it from becoming bigger. If you know what I mean.
I just want to be 100% clear that I asked you to plug this, or when when I said maybe you should share this on some other platforms or whatever, I know you didn't do all that work. You're not that smart. But no, but I think I know you're super proud of it, and that's why I wanted you to share. Not for any other reason than you worked
Hmm.
hard on that, man, and it's related to what we do or what we're talking about, and I think that's cool.
Hmm.
So
But
I think
like
the
the
world
line, for example,
should
was
know
a
about. Yeah,
yeah. The line, for example, was a copywriter. I wrote the brief for it, and it was something. It was originally just for the 963 program, but I even talked to like people in the office. That's not my line. It's not. I didn't write it. I
yeah.
wrote a brief to it, and then I created the context around it. But that's just a good example of going. Um, I don't. I don't want to pretend and walk around like I am Mr. Raceborn. It's not true.
No, you're not Mr. Raceborn. You were just a guy that has a fingerprint on the campaign, and you're super proud
Yeah,
of it. I think that's
and
cool. I think
everyone and
you have
and I'm
worked
really
on.
proud of I'm really proud of how everyone kind of used it, and even on social, it wouldn't exist if if it were just me, but it's all these different people who are like, oh, this is a cool thing, and I want to do something with it. That was really cool, and hopefully it's not it will continue. And I'm actually looking here. I have from Le Mans some postcards. And if I'm not wrong, look, it's even on the postcard. Ta-da! This was the Le Mans
Nice.
postcard, and there it is. Yeah, that's
Now,
cool.
the
Should we
other
bring
thing
this into
we've
land?
done this
Yeah,
week
yeah.
has created our social media. So on Instagram, we are Gulf_spec_podcast. You should be able to find us on YouTube sometime before this episode comes out. So I guess just search Gulf Spec Podcast. I think that would be a good way to go. What's our email address if people want to send us hate mail?
Hold
Is
on,
it the
give me a
cis letters
second.
or stuff? I don't know.
Yeah, keep talking while I'll find it now. It was in our chat.
Um,
Uh,
I don't know what
tell
else
tell
to
me
say.
about tell me about
I can
how
tell you
you
that
spec a.
we are on Apple Podcasts, we are on Zencast, we are live on Spotify. I don't know if the video is quite working on Spotify, but the audio definitely is.
And our
Um,
email address is golf.specgcc@gmail.com. So that's golf.specgcc@gmail.com. There we go. Lovely. On that sound effect. Thank you very much, Mo. I really enjoy this.
all right. Yeah, we'll do another one soon.
Bye, everyone. Bye, 5 people.